We are extremely pleased to be able to work in this easygoing and friendly manner with the Plus Indonesia, and I'm very happy for the choice that has been made, and I think this is the perfect partner that I would like to have for a country like Indonesia.
Halo teman-teman, hari ini Audio Plus lagi ngadain acara The Art of Sound in Motion. Nah, di event kali ini kita memperkenalkan merek baru yang resmi ada di jajaran produk Audio Plus, yaitu Art in Motion. Yuk kita lihat gimana eventnya dan produk apa aja sih yang ditampilkan hari ini.
Jadi pada hari ini kita sedang mengadakan event The Art of Sound in Motion. Kami meresmikan produk premium dari Art in Motion ini sebagai jajaran produk Audio Plus. Nah, kami sangat senang karena founder sekaligus desainer dari Art in Motion ini, yaitu Marian Gadau, hadir langsung untuk melakukan produk launching di event kita kali ini. Nanti kita akan nanya ke dia mengenai background pekerjaan sebelumnya hingga saat ini, serta filosofi dari produk-produk Art in Motion ini. Jadi pada tahun 2004 yang lalu, saya dan Continuum beserta tim pergi ke Salzburg, Austria, menghadiri EMA Eurofinal. Nah, di sana kita sudah mendengarkan nih mobil yang terinstall dengan produk Art in Motion. Dan Continuum merasa ini sangat bagus dan yakin akan diterima oleh pasar atau konsumen di Indonesia. Dan kita juga sangat yakin bahwa pasar untuk produk-produk ultra high-end seperti ini masih besar potensinya di Indonesia. Pada event kali ini, kita sudah menyediakan produk display lengkap line up-nya dari Art in Motion. Yang pertama ada dari line up time machine, speaker dan subwoofer, serta ada dari Continuum speaker. Bukan cuma display aja, kita juga punya atau kita telah membangun satu mobil demo yang menggunakan full system dari Art in Motion, sehingga teman-teman yang datang pada hari ini bisa merasakan langsung seperti apa pengalaman dengan Art in Motion ini.
First product, time machine, as you've been all seeing it 2 years ago. Three-way, it always started with mid-range in the beginning, that was the focus. That also played the widest part of the spectrum in any sound system. And then the struggle and the focus was to actually get the tweeter and the mid-bass to live up to the mid-range and be able to cope and play together as one. Hello Indonesia.
Yes.
So my name is Marian Gadau. I'm the creator of Art in Motion brand. I've been in the industry of car audio since 25 years, and I'm here in Indonesia having fun with you guys. Basically, all my work during my Art in Motion early days, because Art in Motion brand is an old brand, started before the speaker production, was one-time work. Every effort that we involved in any installation, any effort that we had for our projects with car interior and design was a lot of preparation. Usually 70-80% of the time is the preparation, and then the 20% of work we did for only one car. And this happened multiple times, and while my years at Koenigsegg leading the interior department, I discovered that this 70-80% of the work, when it's done very, very well, and we can put huge amount of efforts into that, because then it's used 80 times, 100 times, whatever amount of production they were doing. So this was a realization for me that made me think a product is extremely important, because spending the effort to create perfection and then only use it once felt like a lot of loss. Yeah, they are very different to me, both of them, obviously, and I tend to see cars, hypercars, special projects as one project. And looking back so far, I would say the satisfaction is similar, but it looks like the audio part might be the bigger one that I can touch more audience with. So yeah, I would say it seems like the audio side of things would be able to express the art in motion to more people. I think it's just the genuine curiosity of a person that hasn't been schooled in this industry. So I'm not an engineer which has been schooled in acoustic engineering, which I think in general my perception when I went into this was this big. I had in mind that everything was possible, which was foolish, but I think it was also the only reason why I could start, because if you understand the difficulty of doing this, you will never start anything. So what sets it apart is that I look at things from a physical perspective. I just take a speaker, I look at it, I touch it, I listen to it. I was absolutely unaware of the way normal manufacturing of speakers happen today. You know, computer simulations for everything, which in the end, if everybody uses the same simulations, end up to similar products. And all of these things I could say sets apart Art in Motion from a normal, bigger brand or product that exists on the market. Aside from that, let's say the philosophy of sound that we wanted to achieve ended up to one, if we have to boil down to a simple explanation, extreme low moving mass, extreme high energy in the motor system. This is for speaker. And going even further, if you think about the music, is you want to achieve extreme amount of details, everything. Like if the artist intended in the recording that we should hear the instruments he was playing, we should hear the specific type of tuning he did to the instruments, because they care about all those things and they put effort into it. I think our sound system should be capable of reproducing, and that's down to good amount of detail, realistic transparency, and of course musicality, well behaved. Yes, so the choice of naming it Time Machine was something that I realized many years ago while listening to good systems in general. Every recording, including this one that we're having now, will be visualized by somebody in the future. So every recording we're listening to or viewing is done in the past. And the only way to travel to the past would be a time machine. So of course it's a metaphor. But through this metaphor, I wanted to highlight that not any recording can make you feel that you have been traveling in time. Only the very good sound systems that can convey all the details. For example, you can hear the room where the recording was made. You can hear maybe some cracking of the chairs that the artists were sitting in. You can have this three-dimensional image, which is only very specific to super high-end stereo, whether it's in car or home. This stereo image is, even to this day, very, very impressive what you can do from two sources of sound. So from my perspective, Time Machine is a metaphor for this traveling back in time. And more specific to the Time Machine speakers, three-way system plus subwoofer, tailored for car audio environment. When everything is installed correctly and everything is tuned correctly, it should make you feel like you are in the room with the artist. Yes, so as considering the development steps and what was the actual sequence, we started with the mid-range. That's also the one that is the most important, plays the wider frequency range in any system. So starting with the mid-range, I've always loved paper cone sound in general, and getting the natural damping capabilities of paper to damp the sound in such a way that you only hear transparent instruments was what I wanted to achieve. But of course, reality kicks in, and materials like paper are weak, especially when you want to have extreme lightweight cone and very high energy motor system. You will shake the paper until the movements start to distort, and those distortion in movements create noises that are not in the recording. And I learned that the hard way. Some of the early prototypes in the beginning had only paper cones, and the problems were terrible and in the wrong places. So in order to solve these issues, we started to work with carbon fiber. So carbon fiber is a very, everybody knows is a very strong and lightweight material, but combined with the paper, you can also achieve the damping properties of the paper without compromising the shape. So this was the initial philosophy that we followed in terms of material. Of course, the CNC machine frame, which uses aerospace grade aluminum, was mostly intended for the visual aspect, because aerospace grade aluminum does not corrode. So we need, as we wanted to see the unvarnished natural beauty of the aluminum and also the machining traces, clearly see that the product is made of natural aluminum and is machined. In this case, we had to use the aerospace grade aluminum, but this also allows us to create a very skinny, skeleton-like frame that allowed all the air loads from a moving speaker to breathe naturally. In general, the design of the speakers, all three ways, is form follows function. So we try to make sure first that the functionality is first, and then design was just a byproduct. So the Taj machine speakers are truly built for automotive environment. There are many differences between home audio and car audio products, and a lot of people already know, for example, that a car audio speaker has to withstand harsher environment. Huge temperature shifts can be -30 some places and +40, 50 in other places. High humidity, all kinds of ultraviolet sunlight. So this is one clear difference. But the other big difference is that in a car audio environment, for example, a woofer needs to play indoor, in a door panel, most of the time. So it's really important that it's designed to work like that. The other clear difference is that the sound you get from a speaker, it's a complete sound that comes back to you. In normal environment like home, you can set up the speakers in such a way that you get the direct sound, which can be very linear, but 45 degrees or 60 degrees off axis, the same speaker can produce quite a bad sound. The problem in car environment is that sound through reflections come back to you. So you cannot change it, you cannot EQ it, because it's part of the same driver. The same driver can play good sound and bad sound, and you cannot isolate one from the other. So this was extremely important to get the drivers to play very well and super well behaved on every angle. Another distinctive part of Art in Motion is specifically for the woofers and subwoofers, where it's super important, is the uniformity of the magnetic field. And all the mechanical parts that are moving are extremely linear in movement. So what do I mean by that? If you have a woofer, like for example the Zepto, it travels 6.5 millimeters, and in all this travel the mechanical Q does not change, the magnetism values do not change, or at least they keep 90% of values. This is extremely important because in other drivers many times the magnetism gets concentrated into the middle of the, let's say, size of the magnet. So when the speaker starts to get excursion, basically at high excursion it's a different speaker than at low excursion, which means playing louder volume, playing lower volume makes the same tuning sometimes unsuitable. This is a key performance for all the low frequency players in the Time Machine range. And if we start from the biggest subwoofer, it can have 18 millimeters of perfectly linear movement. With the Atto, you can have 15, and then the 6.5 millimeters that I was talking about for the 6.5. And that is not the X max value. That is the value where it's linear. So you can even exceed that, and the linearity obviously starts to slightly change. Yes, so it is very interesting to describe it as a sound signature, because in general I would like to say Time Machine, or my taste of product, is the one that doesn't really have a sound signature. The point is that the speaker and the elements in the sound system completely should really be getting out of the way of music and just transport from the digital signal directly to the sound we hear, exactly what the artist intended for us to hear. And that is of course extremely complex, and it's about a full system. But in terms of the speaker, this is what we try to achieve. And if we go deeper into that, I think speed. One of the reasons that the name of the individual drivers is what it is, Quecto, Zepto, Yocto. These are the smallest subdivision of time, because time is extremely important for the ability of a driver to react and in a relaxed way reproduce all the frequencies, all the instruments, all the voices at the same time, and still have room left to reproduce the faintest echoes and details that are captured in the recording. And yeah, to speak about it simply, transparency, dynamics, naturalness. If these three together could be encompassed in a product, then the sound would be how I describe it, without a sound signature. Yes, it's the same concept that inspired the name for the three-way as well. If we look into the subdivisions of time as a prefix to measure, that can be, the prefixes can measure anything, distance and all of that. But if we specifically say time, for example, millisecond, nanosecond, we go down and down until we arrive quectosecond, which is the smallest amount of the smallest subdivision of time, which is 10 to the minus 31. So a very, very short amount of time, and that is assigned to the tweeter because also it plays the highest frequency, which means the lowest, the highest speed in sound. Then we have ronto, which is reserved for a future smaller mid-range. Then we have yocto, which is the 4-inch mid-range in the time machine. Zepto, zeptosecond, and so on. Atto are the next two, and femto values. Femtosecond, maybe some people have heard. It's above nanosecond. It all started with the Atto, the smaller subwoofer, because once developing the motor for the Atto, we transferred it to the femto. And let's say the huge advantage is still in the motor. It's not using, let's say, conventional type of magnet. It's using neodymium, but it sits vertical bars of neodymium. It's not like the first time that it's being used, but it's different than most car audio subwoofers. It being called a radial magnet. And this, outside of its advantages, that the magnetism is extremely linear on a high amount of height, as it is also a very long magnet, which gives the speaker a very linear excursion. Whether it plays loud or whether it plays low volume, it will sound exactly the same. So this is key advantage that is in the motor. And the second part, of course, the moving parts, which include titanium former for the voice coil. This is available throughout the Time Machine lineup. The whole products have titanium voice coils because they give big advantage in the weight of the moving parts and some advantages regarding inductance and the way it interacts with magnetic fields. But in general, the same with all the products in the Time Machine, being lightweight, extreme amount of motor force. And when I say extreme, for example, for the 8-inch subwoofer, if we take the flux measurement of the magnet on its own, the same amount or higher values are only found in subwoofers from 18-inch higher. And this is just an 8-inch with the same amount of force. And then, of course, couple that to a very low moving mass, 32 grams for an 8-inch subwoofer. That is the type of weight that you usually find maybe in bigger woofers. And this is a subwoofer with the same amount of weight or slightly higher. At the same time, they both have a very low FS, which was crucial for making them play effortlessly all the way down, not having to interfere with the impedance curve and all the other problems. So 23 Hertz for the small 8-inch and 19 Hertz for the 10-inch. So Atto and Femto, the best way to describe is realistic. And I say that because, of course, low frequency is not usually given the same amount of criticism in terms of sound quality, because it's not something that, when it's not right, bothers you. You know, a wrongly set or wrongly manufactured mid-range or tweeter will clearly bother you and you will hear it much easier. But basically in the low frequency parts, it's not like you are getting a bad signal that makes you want to go out of the car. You're simply not getting enough. You will simply lose part of the music. And as I explained before, my philosophy was that the speakers should move freely. They are both of them very soft, which means they can react with huge speed and huge force to the smallest part of the signal. At the same time, the signal is made out of sinuses. And the sinuses in the low frequency, of course, have huge amplitude, and you know the wavelength at that frequency is very long. So in order to make realistic sound, you have to be able to marry speed with high excursion. And these two are very difficult to achieve, because of course, the more it has to travel, the more time it should take to travel all the way peak to peak and come down to zero. And in this case, sometimes you get subwoofer sound from different drivers that is on the dry side. We call those, you know, punchy subwoofers. But the punchy subwoofers are not capable of giving you the warm and, you know, this kind of thunder, continuous low frequency, which some songs are recorded this way. And then you have the other type of subwoofers, which are very warm and very liquid, so to say, in their presentation of sound, but they are not capable of doing the punchy side of the bass. And that is how, in terms of the mechanical side, they are set up. Because usually the magnet force is too low to control. No, the magnet force is too low and the weight is too high. So in normal, regular stuff, you cannot get that depth and punchiness at the same time. And in this way, with Time Machine, and this is something for people to experience, from song to song, they change their character completely, because their job is to move out of the way of the music and just move according to the signal. Starting with the time machine, I really did not want to have any limitation to what is possible. We just keep on going until the product ended up where it is today. And the name Continuum to me meant like a continuation of the work as well. Of course, in terms of physics, the continuum of time, it also relates to time travel, the time and space continuum. But in a more personal terms, the continuum meant a continuation of the work we done for the time machine, where we only introduced one more limitation, which was cost. Every question was, how can we take this existing driver from the time machine and make it more available to a lot more people? Because I realized creating exclusive products is very nice and is my passion, is what I'm really connected to, but at the same time a lot more people can enjoy the sound and the magic if they can afford it. And many of the parts were already developed. So in the mid-range and the mid-bass, we already used the same cone, the same moving parts, same spiders. Change, of course, voice coils. We didn't use the titanium anymore, which is quite an expensive addition. We didn't use the big neodymium magnets. We replaced with ferrite magnets, even though it's hard to resist the urge to add some small neodymium magnets as well in there. So both mid-range and woofer have a hybrid magnet system. But in general, I try to imagine that if a customer were to mix products from both brands, it wouldn't feel like those products cannot play together. Like they're so far apart that it's impossible. So the Continuum, in many ways, it's a much better proposition in terms of purely value, so to say. But otherwise, it's exactly the same concept, exactly the same free of limitation that we had before, just the constraint of cost was added. Yes, same as time machine, we used the paper and carbon fiber combination that was the only one that could succeed with the time machine mid-range. Of course, it's even easier for the Continuum to be well damped because the motor force cannot be as big as the time machine, so it's not put up to the same amount of stress as the time machine. So this has a very, very wide range of playing and very smooth presentation. So this is a key advantage in the mid-range because that is the part, again, that plays the biggest spectrum. And while the mid-range allows for bigger spectrum, then we could make the tweeter slightly smaller. So I think a tweeter for that size in this category of price is very, very competitive in terms of sound quality, because we kept a lot of the parts and the materials that made the time machine sound so good, just shrink it. There's not much other limitation than the size limitation that we put on the Continuum. So in terms of sound, it can be comparable. Of course, not being able to go so deep, not being able to play with the same amount of energy in some spectrum outside of the spectrum compared to the time machine. And the same with the woofer, I would say, it's a very close match to the time machine. So the biggest advantage that Continuum has is that it comes from time machine. Main difference between them, of course, part of it is clearly visible, like the CNC frame machine, which is again extremely expensive, looks very nice, and it accommodates the ability to have slimmer speakers with still a lot of packed energy in the magnet system. Also, the addition of the brass material that we add on the time machine makes a difference in the resonance of the chassis itself. But of course, if we look at Continuum, simply impossible to have the same amount of energy in the motor system by using similar size ferrite magnet instead of neodymium. But the cost makes a lot of sense. So if we look at all the three ways, I would say the main difference is the amount of details you get and the amount of dynamics they are able to reproduce. At the end of the spectrum, the time machine excels in any way, whereas the Continuum, it's slightly more softer presentation of the music, but still very similar, and in the same way trying to avoid having a sound signature, a specific sound signature, just transparent. I think I was surprised by the passion of the people in the industry in Indonesia. They were extremely eager to find out more details. We had a nice Q&A. Then all of them queued up to have the listening sessions in the car, and some of them sit there for 40 minutes or longer. So I think the level of passion and interest from the people is it's something that stands out. And at the same time, I can imagine these are not cheap products. Their prices are quite high, but it seems that that's not so relevant for the people. They are really interested, they're curious, and I could see that most of them, I think they're passionate about sound, and this is the main reason they are in this industry, and they can make other people happy as well. Well, the hope is to touch as many people as possible, of course. I think my passion for music has been very high, and as I said to multiple times, I think those products, I firstly developed them for myself, and that was the initial intention. So I want people to feel what I feel when listening to good music, and I want them to maybe find something they are not able to find, and get satisfaction out of it. At the same time, ambitions, I think will keep on going. Once started this route, this direction of thinking, how can this be improved, how can that be improved? In general, the possibilities are limitless. So every time I go to sleep, every time I have a moment to think, my brain automatically goes to what is possible to improve. Maybe that can be a thing, maybe that can work. Then obviously now I get another amazing part of this is that I get to meet more and more passionate people. 2 years ago, before the time machine, I had no knowledge, or I haven't not met you or the others here. And now I can say I have friends in the industry in this part of the world, and knowing more people, having more interesting conversation will probably open up the ideas and the flow of things that can improve even more.
Nah, keren banget ya teman-teman, cerita inspiratif karir perjalanan Marian Gadau sampai line up produk Art in Motion yang punya spesifikasi unggul di kelasnya. Nah, buat teman-teman yang penasaran sama produk dan hasil suaranya, langsung aja datang ke authorized partner kita yang terdekat di kota kalian. Sekian video kita kali ini, see you next video. Bye-bye!